Okay, I'm Jerry McGinnity. I'm the Deputy State Librarian, and thank you for all being here today. We're going to get up here to the question and answer section. You heard a lot of stuff this morning, but first of all, I would like to extend my thanks to the staff at the State Library for putting this together. I believe we have set a record for the number of library directors showing up for a public library director forum. So, and a special shout out to Monica Rivas right over here. You probably dealt mostly with her in getting all this coordinated. And I'd also like to point out a library school student that's here today. From our staff at the State Library, I invited her here so that she could learn all about public libraries. And she's going to write a paper on everything that you say. Right over here at this table, Linda Monroe. Wave your hand, Linda. Come on. She works in our State Library Services section, which is the public service side at the State Library. So I think we're ready to turn it over to questions. We have microphones here that we can, for those of you that are far away, so that we can hear everything, and then the staff is here to answer questions, and the people from the systems are here. And also, some of you have mentioned that you'd like to pitch something at your library, so would that be appropriate? Okay. So let's go.
Okay, Monica and I are going to be your Vanna Whites for the day. We'll be bringing microphones to whoever asks. So let's start off with someone raise their hand, orderly, please. Okay, great. We got one here. I'll bring over here, and then and please identify who you want to address your question
Wendy,
to.
you might want to start maybe from each table. That way everybody can stand. Or just raise their hands. Okay.
Stand up fast enough. Tough luck. There you go.
So my question is for Suzanne Flint. Suzanne, you talked about the school readiness project pilot with 6 libraries. Can you tell us a little bit about that, if you've already, there you are, picked the libraries, or what it's going to be?
Thank you. So the school readiness, the school readiness project is in partnership with the Center. The School Readiness Project is in partnership with the Center for Childhood Creativity, and if you're not familiar with them, they're actually a sort of world-renowned think tank on all issues related to early childhood, and they are up under the auspices of the Bay Area Discovery Museum. So it's actually a partnership between a think tank and a museum and us and libraries. And they have amazing people on their board of directors, from Alison Gopnik and David Pinker, and lots of great thinkers. What they have done, they've just released a white paper in which they have reviewed and evaluated 30 years of research on all of the best practices and evidence around how do we really prepare young children for school. And in particular, what we're learning is a lot of the skill and drill that preschools do and that some library programs are doing are actually not the most effective way to prepare children for school. So what then they're going to be doing is sort of making that research more down to a level that we can all appreciate, because some of it's pretty esoteric. And then working with these 6 pilot libraries. Oakland is going to be one of the libraries partnering with us, Fresno, San Diego County, Ontario, San Jose. I can't remember. Does that everybody? Was that 6? Anyway, I apologize for whoever has fallen off my radar at the moment. And then we're going to be taking that research, and they're going to be figuring out with the Center for Childhood Creativity, what do programs specifically in a library look like that support school readiness? And then, as I say, they're going to put it all together in a toolkit, including a summary of the white paper. So you can essentially have a one-page document that you can share with other community partners that basically says, here are the best practices. You're then going to have specific activities that you can consider implementing in your libraries. And then there's also going to be a staff training component about teaching staff how to talk about and engage with their communities around truly effective school readiness practices. Does that answer? Okay.
Any questions on this side of the room?
Take one down there. We're going to go from one end of the room to the other to make sure we're balanced.
Okay, so this question is for Janet Coles. So she mentioned with the California Digital Library that some of the LSTA projects will be appearing in DPLA. We had a digitization project of one of the local newspapers that was sponsored by our historical commission. So they just went out on their own and raised the money and are digitizing the newspaper. And so what I'm wondering is, you know, if we can still be part of this sort of gathering of all these newspapers and such if we kind of had our own separate project.
Hi, the answer to that is yes. We can include your digitized newspapers in the California Digital Newspaper Collection, and let's talk, and I'll connect you with Brian Geiger, who's the head of the CDNC, and we'll get it done.
Great. Someone from this end of the room.
Can you please say your name and the library that you're from, please?
Yes, hi, I'm Betty Wasness from Chula Vista, and this question is really for Jerry or Wendy. I'm just wondering what the outlook is for a state construction bond.
Jerry, there's a mic up there for you.
Well, I am an appointee of the governor, so I have to be careful, but actually getting something on the ballot doesn't look promising. I believe the discussions now are centering around some money the state might have in what they call deferred maintenance, but they would be for maintenance projects or upgrades, some similar things like ADA, but I think the discussions are still ongoing with the governor's office on that. Not much information on that, but as far as a construction bond on the ballot, as you know, this governor has been pretty consistent with that he doesn't want the state to go into any more debt. So it's kind of my feeling at the time. This is me talking, so don't go calling the governor. So.
Any questions in the back? There's one in the front. I'll go get
And
it.
one over here.
Hi, I'm Danis from Napa, and I have two questions. One, I heard a rumor that you're retiring, and who allowed that to happen?
It's not a rumor. I will be gone in February of next year.
All right, so I think we all should stand and give him a great big thank you. We're really going to miss you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And my second question is about the public PSLIP. I don't even know what it stands for, except for they get their grants for school. Has there been a longitudinal study on, because I know we've been doing it for almost 10 years, of people who've received the grant, who've got their degree, are they working in California, what level are they at now? And I'm also interested in knowing, are we doing, are we looking at how many jobs there actually are available for the number of graduates that are coming out of the program? Because I know I have a lot of underemployed library school graduates working in paraprofessional positions, and I think that could have a backlash effect eventually. So I just want to know about that.
What was your name and your library?
I'm Danis from Napa.
Sorry, can you repeat the first question? There were three questions. There was a, but I'll just let you repeat the question.
So
yourself.
a longitudinal study of students who received the grant and how many have gone on to have library careers in California or elsewhere, and what level they're at. Have they proceeded through their careers? And then the second part is, have we looked at jobs availability scan versus number of graduates?
So first off, there was a longitudinal study, and that was conducted by Cindy Media Via last year. And so we have a her evaluation report on that that can be shared, and it was, I believe she conducted it just to see what kind of where the students are. But in terms of whether they can, I don't think that there was a particular aspect of the study that was focused on how long they remain in a California public library. But to even apply to the program, they currently have to be working for a year in a California public library or a county law library. So the program is currently supporting current library staff that are already working in your libraries for at least a year. And so this is really just for their educational development, for them to learn and get the classes that are in library school that go towards an MLIS. And so that will in turn help them provide better service in their libraries. And so there are already library staff that are working in libraries. So.
Oh, okay. Mel Lightbody, Butte County. First of all, Dana, send them my way. I'm having trouble filling my MLS positions, just saying. So maybe that's the difference between Napa and Butte. And I love where I live, don't get me wrong, just possibly. But actually, I had a question to follow up on the PSLEP. And that is something you said this morning, that you're going to focus more on people completing their degrees. I wasn't really clear, and I was just going to ask for clarification, because I'm looking at growing my own. So this particular program is very integral to my plans.
Currently, the way the program works is that students who get selected into the program, they can apply again for the following year up to 5 years. And so we're looking at students who may take a master's degree typically takes 2 years if they're going full-time, but because we're supporting library staff who are also working at public libraries, generally they can only take classes part-time while working. So they take longer than 2 years to complete. But so we're looking at potentially targeting the students who are in their last year of an MLIS program and essentially prioritizing awarding them first with whatever funds that are available and allocated. So, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
One of the things we found is that we were getting a lot of the funding coming back because first-year students were experimenting. They were testing out to see if they were going to stick in the program, and we were getting an extraordinary amount of funds coming back, which of course we can always repurpose to other programs, but we wanted this to be more effective and more successful. So we're looking at targeting the people who are in their final 2 semesters or final 4 quarters. And then, now this has not been approved yet by the state librarian. He's aware of this. We need to discuss it. But then we're also talking about, because we're cutting the funding down to that period of time, increasing the amount of tuition from $5,000 up to possibly $7,500 per semester. Because after looking at the numbers last year, we realized that $5,000 barely begins to touch tuition costs. So hopefully, so what we're trying to do is support and reward the ones that we know are in it for the long haul. Because if they're into their final year, you know they're going to continue through in a career, rather than partially fund someone's education who may or may not stay within the industry. So we're hoping that there is less money coming back to us, it's a better investment, and then we have more people staying within the industry and hopefully here within California. But again, this has to be approved by the state librarian, although he is aware of it. Wait.
Carol Frost, PLP. I have a question, a follow-up question for what you just said, Wendy. I have heard from several of our libraries saying that students want to apply for it and then they're put on a waiting list. I wonder if there's any way, as you're thinking about restructuring, where if you're giving money, money is being returned, if maybe there's a way to catch those students who are on a waiting list as like a second tier.
We do that when it's possible, but a lot of times we don't know the money is coming back till after the semester is over. So, and by that time. And then they have to maintain a B- or better. We do have a lot of those people. At one point, I mean, we've got a certain amount of funds. So we just start from the top down or when the money runs out, and that's where the waiting list begins. It's amazing how many people apply with C and D averages, though, too. So if they think they're on a waiting list, we really kind of have to examine exactly where they are on that list. So.
Hi, Audrey Lujan, Anaheim Public. And the going along with PLSEP, there was mention something of, I guess it's the library support staff. Oh, that'll take a while, but that's okay. The legs are moving a little slow today. Okay, so anyways, what about the library support staff? That's the first I've heard of that. And what is that? I know it's $3,000, it was mentioned today. But how, well, did I misquote something? I don't know. I wrote a note because that was very exciting because we have people who don't necessarily aren't ready to become a librarian yet and invest in a master's degree, but they would definitely like this library support $3,000 opportunity.
Yes, so the Library Support Staff Certification program is actually something that the American Library Association with the Allied Professional Association, they have this program, and so part of the PLSEP tuition reimbursement is that for students who apply for that library support staff certification, we reimburse them up to $3,000. And actually, we hadn't had too many applicants for that portion of PLSEP, so maybe this is an opportunity for marketing.
Okay, I guess I'll stand up again. So how would I instruct my staff to get this opportunity? Do they apply at ALA? Do they apply to the state library? I guess I would like to know, and is there some information that could be sent to us on that particular one? And if nobody else is interested, send it to Anaheim Public Library, Audrey Lujan. Okay?
Yeah, so typically in the past, every year, when the application period is open, which is the beginning of a calendar year, somewhere from January through March, when it's open, we blast it out on the director's list and then also on CALEX. But there's no, each year the opening date varies, so currently there's no like set date that we tell you keep your eyes out in February on CALEX or something, but it is typically at the beginning of the calendar year. So if you're on the director's list or CALEX, it's blasted on both of those. And it does specify library support staff. Yes, it mentions in there. And it's also the system coordinators, they also send it out to the library. Mm-hmm. So your system coordinators, during that period, they also, because they will submit the applications to the state library, so they receive all the student applications. They don't get mailed to the state library directly or any of that, but so if you're, I'm not sure which system you're with, but, oh, okay. Yeah, then Diane will now be your.
Melinda Cervantes, Contra Costa County Library. Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be back in California. I just have one follow-up. Diablo Valley College just opened up their library technician program. Will that also qualify, or is it only the allied professionals for the certification? Because they have a certification for a library technician, paraprofessional.
Getting a lot more questions. So the library support staff certification program is offered through ALA, but I believe they don't offer their own courses. They partner with community colleges and other educational institutions to offer courses. And so the college that you mentioned might be on there. I'd have to look at their website to see currently who they have in terms of course providers, but they might be. And if you give me your contact later, I can look it up and let you know.
Any other questions? Okay. I would, but it's heavy.
Abbott Chambers from the Sausalito Public Library. A question for Jerry. Jerry, I wonder if you could say a little bit about your reading of the priorities of the California Library Services Board and what their role will be in our 5-year planning.
Okay. The 5-year plan you're referring to is the LSTA. Okay, the California Library Services Board only sits as an advisory board to LSTA. They oversee the California Library Services Act, so they don't have much of a role other than to give advice on that. So, yeah, the 5-year evaluation and the 5-year plan we're talking about today is federal funding. So let's not, well, unless you want us to change that, I would recommend you not, but so the other question was the priorities that the board set up for what?
Yeah, actually, I'm just kind of curious about your what your reading of the board is, its composition right now. I tend to get the minutes from the board meetings and scan through them, but it's never really quite clear to me what their role is in California State Public Libraries and what sort of what the dynamic is. So I'm just kind of curious to get your take on the composition of the board and how you see their role in as an advisory body or in planning that we're doing.
Can I answer this question in February? I'll be put. Hey, I'm still around for 3 months, folks. So, all right. The California Library Services Act was passed in what 1977, and in that act, it created the California Library Services Board, which oversees the programs of the act. And that is pretty much all it says in there. It sort of says they will approve the system plans of service. There are, I'm not going to remember, 11 people on that board, if I remember correctly, or am I off by 2? I can't remember. 2 of them are appointed by the Speaker of the Assembly, 2 of them are appointed by the Senate, and the rest are appointed by the governor. Interestingly enough, that was an element that Governor Brown wanted in the act when it was Brown 1 back in the 70s, that he felt there needed to be input from the public into what libraries were doing in sharing resources. It's been difficult to fill those positions through the years. Sometimes you get really, really passionate people about libraries. I would say this current board is. They're dealing with a lot of issues that have come up since, interestingly enough, Brown 2 zeroed out the California Library Services Act. In 2011, I believe, was his first budget that he presented. And we've been dealing with that ever since and trying to have those discussions. One of the reasons we've been bringing you all together is we need to have those discussions about what is the future of the state's role in funding libraries. Where do they think they have some sort of a duty to continue to promote things that we do in public libraries, given the umbrella of cooperative sharing of resources. So that's been the struggle. And then you heard earlier, we talked a little bit about how we're trying to modernize it a little bit. There were some things that were edited in the act. Then that results in having to change regulations, which is not a real speedy process in California. So I'm trying to answer your question as best I can. I think that the current board has faced those challenges in trying to catch up with trying to deal with a Library Services Act that was written in 1977. The biggest component of that act in 1977 was answering reference questions. That was the biggest chunk of change was in there. There was actually a piece in there called the California Database. How many in here remember the California Database? There was money put aside to create this one bibliographic utility for California so we'd all know what each other has in their collection. And then you put a lot of money behind delivering those items all over the state. So now we're moving into digital delivery, modern delivery. The reference answering component, that's gone. I mean, I was working for the Mountain Valley Library System, which has disappeared also. But anyway, that's another story. But, you know, within a really short time, we were answering like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 reference questions for member libraries. And within a few short years, it dropped to 300. That was Google and the World Wide Web. And how do we key into all that? So that component was eliminated when we brought back. The act went to zero. It took us a couple of years to get it funded again. And in that time, we tried to modernize it. And so basically, the little money that we got back was put into communications and delivery. And we're trying to continue to modernize that. And I think this board has faced that challenge and listened. You know, we've got to do the education with them. They used to meet 6 times a year. I mean, can you imagine? 6 times that board used to meet. Then it was down to 4. I know Tom Anderson is here. He was a CLSA program manager for the state library. He remembers those days. I mean, you no more than probably went back to your desk and you started the next agenda. And now they're down to twice a year. So that's a challenge, too. There's not a lot of funding for travel. We try and do one meeting a year by phone and dial in and that sort of thing. So trying to stretch those resources. And then again, they do sit as the LSTA advisory board once a year. Is that helping? Okay.
Audrey Lujan, Anaheim Public Library. Natalie Cole mentioned something about partnerships with housing authorities and libraries. I'm very interested in that because Anaheim has a housing authority. So how do we get more information on that?
Thanks, Audrey. Yes, so something we want to look at this year is how libraries can work together with housing authorities. And so we're going to be working right now just with a very small set of libraries. And then what we want to do then is broaden that project out once we have some findings and some replicable models to help other people create those projects. So just a small number this year and then hopefully broadening it out next year. Right now, because we are working with the San Diego Public Library, and so that's our sort of Southern California end. So right now, not right now, but definitely, talk to me about next year for sure.
Hi, Rivka Sass, Sacramento. Welcome to Sacramento. I'm glad the weather's nice. I want to build on the housing authority thing just because we've been working with our several local affordable housing providers here in the Sacramento area for the last 3 years and sustaining participation in summer reading program and actually having some outcomes. So let us help.
Yes,
We don't need to be a pilot, but we can provide, our summer reading materials are now being used all over the state, a program called Life Steps. They basically just take our stuff and rebrand it. So we'd love to help with that. Can I make a pitch? Totally different. Sacramento Public Library is hosting the Library Journal Directors Summit December 1st and 2nd. The theme is sustainability. We're going beyond buildings. I think we all know buildings are great and green buildings are wonderful and LEED is expensive. We want to talk about sustaining libraries as institutions, but also what can we do to reduce things like greenhouse gases and what's our contribution and who are our partners in this. We have the CEO from Clean Canteen, a Chico-based company. We all use clean canteens, I hope. So please come. It's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be tours the morning of December 1st. The program starts in the afternoon, and then at the end of the program on Friday, there will be more tours. Those are optional. So please ask me if you want more information or just register through Library Journal. Thank you.
None on that end? Any more questions? Okay, we'll open up. Any questions at all? We have a few more minutes. Do we have lunch? Sure.
Hi, Ryan, City of Sierra Madre. I was just wondering if there's any legislative updates, anything kind of in like draft form or whispers on legislative side that we should be aware of coming up for next year. Just curious.
Not that I've heard of. It's kind of quiet right now. Mainly, we've been working with the governor's office and the Department of Finance recently in getting lots of data and input over to them because they're trying to, the governor releases his budget in January, so they're working on it right now. So that's really what we've been doing, and I think they're going to try and have it pretty much put to bed and over, to the governor by Thanksgiving, and then he eventually decides what he wants to do. So other than that, I haven't heard too much about legislative. Anybody from the legislative committee here from CLA? Okay.
I'm coming to you. I'm coming.
I'm Sarah Jones from the Marin County Free Library and also the CLA Legislative Chair. So I think the thing you mentioned is one that we're working very hard on, and many of you might have heard from us, is this idea that we might get some help with the deferred maintenance of some of the buildings that are in the most need and also in some economically disadvantaged areas. And then we do have a pre-conference tomorrow, and we are going to be talking about bond, because as we know we have to honor the current governor. It's not the forever governor, so we are we are starting to really think about what that's going to look like to position ourselves so that we can look at library construction money in the future.
Any more questions? We have about 10 minutes before lunch, so now's the time to ask questions if you like. Okay. Oh, great.
I'm Heidi Murphy, Pleasanton Public Library. My question is for Janet Coles or any of you who are doing lunch at your library. Do you all do it specifically at your library, or is anyone taking those off-site to the more in-need areas?
I can take this one. So lunch at the library, the project that we are coordinating, typically libraries do the lunch at the library. We do have, I don't know if anyone is here from San Mateo County Library, but they've been working as a meal sponsor. So they actually provide the meals and take them out to other sites. But mostly the libraries are working, the meals are actually served in the library itself. and really, like I said before, in a real variety of spaces. So even if you only have quite a small space, it is very doable. We do know that there are some libraries, I think Santa Barbara Public Library, they were working with other meal sites. If you're close to a meal site, but you don't feel that you can start by serving meals in your libraries, what you can do is maybe take books and summer reading materials out to those meal sites that are already taking place and start the partnership there. And we're finding also in some communities, the library is proving to be a really popular site, and then the program may move to the library site.
Is this live? Actually, I have a question. I'm Susie Armstrong from Qualcomm, and I'm going to be giving the after lunch talk, so please don't fall asleep when you do it. And I'll tell you a little bit more about myself then. But somebody this morning flashed up a sheet of partners and said there was going to be a test on it. And I probably will fail the test because I saw mostly nonprofits and library associations, and so I'm curious, do libraries and library directors work much with corporations or with private industry? I could come over there.
The partner list that was on the screen was for the California audio visuals. So it's we do work with nonprofits, anybody with an archive with audio or film that has significance to California interest or history that they're willing to share. But when you ask that question, there were several library directors around me that are all saying yes, 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 yes. That's important to do those partnerships.
We'd love to do more.
Yeah, and it looks, I've got 4 pages of notes from this morning, and there's so many potential partnerships with industry, not only in what I'm going to talk about, the Innovation Station and Think a Bit and STEM exposure, but also libraries handle data and our resources for data, and I think there's a lot of opportunities jiggling around in my head for pulling in Silicon Valley companies. I think there could be a lot of opportunity for really good public-private partnerships. So thank you.
Okay, I just want to really quickly say we've had a partnership with the local ABC affiliate for the last 4 years to promote reading to kids under 10. And it's a 3-way partnership between the TV station, the library we curate the lists of books, and then a funder. And that gets our name out in regular public service announcements. We're on a regular TV program. We get a lot of news cover, a fair amount of news coverage. And it works really well from my perspective, and I can't wait for your talk.
Okay, this is a quick question for Janet again. She had something on her PowerPoint about Dana Goya, Poet Laureate Dana Goya doing a tour, and I was wondering, what that...
I'm just going to clarify, there's 2 calls here. So this is Janet, and I'm Natalie. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. Dana Gioia. Did he come to any of your libraries? Anyone here? So yeah, he went to a set of libraries in Northern California pretty much in the summer, and that was supported by the California Center for the Book. I believe he wants to go to all while he is the Poet Laureate. So I think if the Center for the Book has the resources to support that, they definitely will. And he's coming to speak Saturday, I think. And so maybe you can connect with him then.
All right, thank you, everyone.